Hi, I'm Claudia Brown Coulter with Pivotal Peace, and I'm your go-to mediator for navigating divorce while parenting children with special needs. And I'm also a legal document assistant, LDA, based in the greater Los Angeles area. Today is Monday, and this is the day we talk about mediation. So today is mediation in special needs divorce, why it is the key to success, right? Like, you might think your marriage is a failure, but your divorce can be a success. You can win at divorce. And I don't mean like you got all the toys and you're going home with them. I mean, you can have a great divorce. It could be fantastic and amicable and like a model divorce for all of your friends to see. So, first let's talk about the difference between a mediated divorce and a traditional divorce. So, the approach is different. A mediated divorce really is about coming to the table and solving things as amicably as possible. Whereas a traditional divorce, settlement is still the goal. If the judge has to decide, a judge will decide, but it's traditionally more adversarial. That doesn't mean that it is bad. It means that it might not be right for your situation. Mediation isn't right for everyone, and traditional approach to divorce also isn't right to everyone. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean that it's the only way to do things. And it doesn't mean it's the best solution for your family. Because when you have a mediated divorce, you have control and decision-making ability. Granted, you guys who are getting divorced, you're the ones together who have control versus an outside entity such as a judge having control or lawyers driving the process. And not all lawyers are great. Many lawyers are really good though. The good ones will only have you go to court when you really have to go. So if you have to get a lawyer, let me know. I got some recommendations for you. Some really great people out there. But for most people though, if you have to go to court, you're usually taking everything before the judge. In mediation, you guys get to decide what happens with your kids. It doesn't mean it's an easy decision to make. It's not like, skipping, la la la, woohoo, this is great. No, it's hard because you're having conversations with someone you're not getting along with. But ultimately, you know your children and you can make decisions that are better for them than a stranger can, right? The California State Legislature doesn't know your children better than you do. The laws and statutes that have been passed down, they were not going to do a better job of making sure your children are stable and healthy and well cared for than you can do. You can do a better job than any stranger. So you want to keep control over what happens to them, and you want to make decisions about your parenting plan and all the things that go into it. It's more cost effective and more time effective because time is money, right? That's the one thing you cannot get back. When you are doing the traditional route, you're waiting to get on the court's calendar. You're waiting to talk to your attorney. In mediated divorce, you could be waiting to talk to your mediator as well. But especially at the court, there are so many delays and there are so many cases and the courts are so overloaded. It's going to take you a long time to get on the court's calendar. And once you do get on the court's calendar, if everything's not decided, you're going to have to reschedule and go back again. Ugh, that's not fun. It's going to save you so much more time to work with a private mediator such as myself, where you can have access to my calendar and you can schedule a day and time that works for you. Okay? It's cost effective because instead of paying attorneys and specialists and all these people, and you've got a forensic accountant and they've got a forensic accountant, you're paying the mediator together. You might be hiring a neutral CDFA. You might be hiring a neutral parenting coach, but they work for the couple as you are divorcing. So it's still cost effective because you're not both paying for two sets of people. One of the benefits are that it's flexible and you have custom solutions because you get to run the show. You get to decide what's happening. So these are tailored agreements for your family, for your children, and for what they need. You have children with special needs. Cookie cutter is not going to work. So Mediating divorce will allow you to have some more flexibility in how you raise your children. I have a friend who's got children. All of her children are neurodivergent. She was able, with her former spouse, to create a plan that works for her children and works for her family based on their particular needs. That's what you want. That's what you want. I told a couple today, you're still a family, right? I know you don't want to hear that. They're not my family. You still a family. You're just not a married family anymore, but you're still a family. So you've got to really make these decisions based on the family and how all of these decisions impact everyone in the family. Sometimes you need flexibility, right? Like sometimes you have to be flexible. Things change. Your children's needs may change. Your work schedule may change. Mediation allows you to build some flexibility in there, or maybe things are very, very rigid and there's been a sudden change, a job change. Maybe you've got to move out of state. Post-divorce, you can come back to mediation and mediate a new plan, a new way of living for your family that incorporates this change, this move away. You can absolutely do that. You don't have to necessarily relitigate that. The other thing is, the more flexible you can be, the better it is for your kids. The more cooperation they see between you, the better it is. So what does this look like? First thing, we have an initial consultation where you meet me. Sometimes people come by themselves and meet me, and then the spouse comes, and other times two of you come and you meet me at the same time. Either way is fine by me. My goal for you is that you connect with the mediator that you feel comfortable with, so that when things get rocky, you're going to stick with that mediator. You're comfortable, you know that they're neutral, you know that they're really working to help you guys reach an agreement and they're not taking sides. Then if you're not doing your paperwork with a mediator, if you're doing that with someone else, you're going to need to bring your financial disclosures to them, but they're also going to need more information specifically about your children, their needs, what's happening at school, what types of accommodations and modifications have been put in place in the school setting, what have you been doing at home, are there any issues that you both have that are in a disagreement about the child's educational plan or the way those things are implemented at home? Are you in any disagreement with how your child has been identified? Is there any conflict with the school side, with the IEP team regarding this? These are things that the mediator needs to know, because sometimes it's not just mediating a parenting plan, it's mediating conflict that if it doesn't get solved here in divorce mediation, it's going to end up in the IEP meeting. And the person who's going to suffer the most is your child, because they're not going to get the services they need. So sometimes you've got to kind of pre-mediate anything that might come up in an IEP meeting so that you guys can present a unified front as parents to the team, to the rest of the team. And then we negotiate. Mediation is facilitated negotiation. I help you have a conversation. I help you keep the proposals coming. I help the dialogue to continue. I help focus you and keep you on the future so things don't just, devolve into arguments all of the time. Help you create a parenting plan. Either you can fill it out in the documents the court provides, or you can do a little attachment and add it into your final judgment package of all of the things that you agree about for your children. It doesn't matter. You have to put the important parts, put it in there. Fill it out in the court forms or put it in, type it up. It doesn't matter how it gets in there, but get it in there, right? You've worked hard for your agreements. You want to make sure that they're in there. And then once all of your divorce documents are done, there are several different forms that you need, and I'll be talking about this on Friday. But once all of your documents are done and they're signed and notarized, then the court will approve them. That's the final step. You're submitted to the court. You're waiting for them to approve it. Hopefully they approve it. If they don't approve it, they will let you know. They will let you know. Rest assured, there will be no confusion. And then you make the changes or corrections and you resubmit it. So, how, Claudia, how am I supposed to approach this? You have to have a child-centered approach. And my job as a mediator is to remind you of that. The conflict that's happening right now is between the two of you, and it's not related to your children. You're not divorcing your children. So your focus, it has to be on the child. What is best for them? Now, children get a voice, not a choice. Another mediator said that, and now I'm stealing it. I love it. I think her name is Laura McKee. Love that. They get a voice, not a choice. But it's true. So you can take into account their feelings, maybe even their communications, depending on how old they are, but they don't get to choose. So as you are making these decisions, you really do need to take into account how your decisions will impact them, how they will respond, how it will impact their development. This is a moment where you really have to be selfless. And it's a moment, it's really hard, especially if you're pissed at your ex. That's hard. Now, a lot of times in mediations, couples want to get future focused and they want to get into hypotheticals, which that never ends well because everything is just supposition. We don't actually know what's going to happen. However, in your case, it's really, really good to look towards the future. Looking at your child's development now, do you think they're going to need some sort of long-term care? Is there some sort of a estate plan that we need to have in place for them so that when both parents are gone, they can be taken care of? Is there extra life insurance we need so that when we go, they're okay? These are all things that mediation is a perfect place to talk about these things because they're not hypothetical. You know, if your child, you already know at this age, if your child will be able to live independently or not. And if they can't, you have to start making provisions for them now. So really thinking creatively about the future. This isn't just right here, right now. This is about your child's future. And yeah, you got to do that with your soon-to-be ex. You make that child together. You have a duty, a fiduciary duty and a moral obligation to continue to care for this person who won't be able to care for themselves. Now, if you know that they'll be able to live independently, then that's not the issue we need to talk about for you, okay? And that's totally okay. Sometimes, depending on the child's needs and who knows the kid's best, you might want to involve an outside person. You might need some outside parenting consultants to come in, or maybe a psychologist to consult with. That's fine. They can come to the mediation session. They can offer their expertise. You know, people offer private assessments. Private school psychologists or private psychologists offer private assessments, private evaluations. You can do all of those things, but you can also ask them to come to the mediation session. That's totally fine. And then the most important thing is your communication. How you communicate with your spouse. It's the hardest part. It's the hardest part. You're getting a divorce. You can't resolve conflict. Things aren't changing. And you want to tell them just like it is. You want to tell them the truth about themselves. But that's not going to be productive. So, working on your communication is very, very important. I always recommend BIF for Co-Parenting Communication by Bill Eddy. That is a book you probably need. Let me tell you something. BIF is going to change your life. The next thing you know, you're going to be biffing. Biff is only supposed to be for writing, but you're going to be biffing when you talk. You're going to be emailing your boss and using the biff response. Your annoying cousin who always texts you, you're going to give them the biff response and the text. It's going to change your life. You're going to talk to the waiter who's rude to you with the biff response. It's going to be great. So while you work on your communication with your co-parent, your whole life is going to change. But communication is really that important. So if you get no takeaways from this, the 2 takeaways I want you to think about are: focus on the child. What is best for them? Take them into account as you're making these plans. This isn't just about you and, oh, well, they'll adjust. Maybe not. And 2, work on your communication with your co-parent. It's the most important thing. All right, so if you're navigating a divorce, you have children with special needs, you need mediation, you need help, go ahead, schedule a free call. I'd be happy to talk to you so we can have a conversation about how I can help and I can give you some tips and resources. Have a great day.